Festive greetings to one and all. No holiday for these guys. These hard-working fellas are here.
You know how it is a holiday? It's usually tough to park around here. And
wide open.
Today, hey!
You can drive right up to the front door.
Alejandro Moreno, Shaka, Hislop. We also have Gab, Marcotti and Don Hutchison with us. No rest either, fellas, for the Premier League players who have a full Boxing Day fixture list to get into. This, remember, is the Premier League standings. Heading into Boxing Day, Liverpool and Leicester City, 10 points separate them, but they will meet in Leicester on Boxing Day. Gab, I want to start with you on this because the title odds have Liverpool as a 1-10 on now to win the title. Those seem to be shortening by the day. Manchester City 6-1, Leicester City 35-1. You are one who likes to go against the grain, Gab, and for some time now you've been saying that, hold on a second, slow down, this race is not over. Are you still sticking with that storyline?
Well, you know, the wise man says when the facts change, opinions change. Mm-hmm. And I know there were some people who were looking to go and crown Liverpool back in October and November. But the facts have changed.
This was just last week, Gab.
Liverpool have weathered. Liverpool have weathered the storm, and no, look. I mean, I'm not going to anoint them just yet, even at those attractive odds as 10-1 on. But they obviously took a huge step forward. But they still got to play these games. You know, their game in hand is against West Ham. Who knows what can happen in that? And if they lose at Leicester. But I'll tell you what, if they beat Leicester and City falter, then I think all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a different story. Give me until the new year to anoint them.
Don, former West Ham United player, that game in hand against West Ham, is it going to make any difference? Is this over?
No, come on, Gab, you know Liverpool are going to win the title. This is done. This is done. They are coming back now, Club World Champions. They've got so much confidence. You know, they've just done that treble of the Super Cup at the start of the season, the Champions League and the Club World Cup. This is a team that's coming back now with so much confidence and arrogance. I can imagine them coming back. And this will be a tough game against Leicester away because of the travel and because they've had to come back and played a couple of games of short notice. But you're coming back with so much confidence because they won that game. If they had went over to the Club World Cup and lost it, there might have been a negative. But now you look at Liverpool, now you think they are going to come back so positive. They will be buzzing for this game, I would imagine, the Liverpool players.
Gab, quick.
I just tell you what, in terms of confidence, the funny thing is if you look at the number of teams that Liverpool have failed to beat, going back to the defeat against Barcelona in April, if I'm not mistaken, I think 4 out of 5 of those are teams that aren't English. And the fact that you need to only play English teams, plus Cardiff, of course, if they're in the Premier League, to win the Premier League, I think that's obviously a bonus.
No, wait a minute. What was the point there? I'm sorry. Leicester's in England, right?
Well, yes.
Okay, all right. So he's picking Liverpool then?
Well,
I don't know. Because, hold on. As the facts change, opinions change. The facts change, but his opinion didn't change. I don't know.
He's all over this show.
I don't know who's playing.
He's all over this show.
Who's playing?
It's not hard to understand. And I will, if you ask me, who do I think will win the Premier League, I'll say Liverpool. But if you ask me, is the Premier League over? No, I know better than to go and say before Christmas that the Premier League is over. Or on Christmas Day even.
Is it over?
100%. It's over. Come on, we can make all sorts of arguments and structure and say. Well, are you going to make an argument? Is this what you're going to do?
I'm not going to side with Gab, but there is a lot of football still to be played. There is.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
A lot of football.
Adrian, just a simple question. Who's going to win the Premier League?
Well, if I had to...
No. Who's going to win the Premier League?
Well, Liverpool are odds-on favourites, rightly so.
Okay. Who's going to win the Premier League, Adrian?
Liverpool.
Okay.
But it's not over until May, is it?
Don't look at me. When Gab says there are idiots who said the title was over in October,
is that you?
He's talking about one person. Over. Yeah. There's only one person stupid enough to make that call.
He's already established that they don't lose against teams in England.
John,
wait, they're playing in England. Oh, okay.
John, this is what the odds makers think about the tilt in Leicester. Leicester, you can get a little more than we can get 2.5-1 on them, 5-2 to win. Liverpool even money, so not as big a favourite by any means in the game. What do you think is going to happen between 1 and 2?
Oh, I think Liverpool will obviously win the league, and the reason why, again, just a caveat, just to add to that as well. I mean, I can't imagine Man City, going straight from now at the end of the season, winning every single game, because they are vulnerable. And the same as Leicester, they are vulnerable. They're not going to win every single game, and I can't imagine Liverpool dropping 4 or 5 games by losing them. I can't see that happening. So in this fixture, I would say Leicester's best case scenario is probably a draw. I don't see them winning the game. I think for Liverpool, it's either go in there, trying to nail down 3 points and putting on a positive performance and a fast and furious and a high-octane performance, which might be difficult. But at the same time, I just don't see Liverpool losing that game.
Next up on the Boxing Day fixture list, Chelsea and Southampton. Chelsea 1-3 on after their victory against Spurs. You can get a rosy 8-1 on Southampton going there and winning. Frank Lampard in training, asking about the need to stay patient. If we're not patient and we don't stick with the players, we might be in a situation we have been in before, where absolutely top world-class players at this minute have been at Chelsea when they were 20 or 21, and managers maybe didn't stick with them so much then. I am in a position where I will stick with them. Ali, a little dig, not even a little dig,
it's a dig.
Big dig. Jose Mourinho there with De Bruyne and Salah and Lukaku, players he let go.
Lukaku?
Yeah.
So when he says managers, he's really saying
right.
Jose.
Just didn't mention him.
Well, which is hey, it's fair. And it's fair to make that assessment, and it's fair to say, look, we've had players that now are world-class players that we did not give opportunities then, and we didn't think enough of those players back then, and now they've gone on to be who they are. And he's essentially saying, look, we have this youth movement here at Chelsea. It's important for us to continue to exploit that and continue to nurture this talent, make sure that this talent develops in a way in which they're helpful to us in the future, not helpful to somebody else in the future. So it makes all the sense in the world. And after Jose Mourinho took a shot at Frank Lampard in saying, hey, well, you were playing Antonio Conte's formation, because apparently Antonio Conte is the only coach in the world who has ever used this formation. So I think it's fair, and I think it's good for Frank Lampard to say, yep, we're here, we're doing it our way, I'm doing it my way, and it works for us.
I think there are a couple of things at play here, and Ali's absolutely right. I don't think Frank Lampard makes this comment if Jose Mourinho doesn't make the Antonio Conte comment of a couple of days ago. Similarly, though, many, and I'm one, I have to admit here, thought that Frank Lampard was hired as Chelsea boss almost just to keep the peace and given the transfer ban and the restrictions around Chelsea as a football club, just to manage that situation, not really expecting him to do as well as he did. And now all of a sudden, not only has he excelled, this transfer ban has lifted, and the question then becomes, well, what do you do in the transfer market? And Frank Lampard rightly says, I'm going to stick with the hand that I was dealt, certainly for the time being. Again, I think that is just fair play to Frank Lampard. That is just being a good manager, especially considering the context with which many of us accuse him of getting the job under.
Don, what did you make of Frank Lampard's comments?
I think absolutely fair play from Frank. I know him personally. He's not the type of character that would try and play mind games. I think, but he'll stand up for himself. And when he feels as though he's being pushed, I think he'd come back with a very smart answer. And it's a sign that Frank is probably maturing. His team have still got to mature slightly when you think of their home record and the loss against West Ham, and they lost that game the other week against Bournemouth at the Bridge. So they're still learning. They made some statement wins. The one against Tottenham for sure in the Premier League, and then the victory against Ajax in the Champions League, which now they're in the last 16, was another statement win for Frank's side. So I think if you're a Chelsea fan, I think you're relaxed. I think you're confident in the job that Frank's doing. And now, with a little bit of money to spend, it's going to be on Frank now to see. And I don't think he'll rush into it in terms of just going out and blowing £150 million. I think he'll take his time. He'll analyse which players and which positions he wants to fill and where he can improve. But I think it was a very smart answer from Frank.
Meanwhile, Mikel Arteta will make his Arsenal debut as new manager with a trip to the South Coast to take on Bournemouth. The bookies rate Arsenal as evens money to win Bournemouth 5-2 to get a home win. Mikel Arteta, interesting words from him. The players, he said, have a clean sheet. You're not going to be judged on what you've done in the past, whether it's negative or positive. And goalkeeper Bernd Leno, on what Arteta told them before the Everton game, he didn't speak too much about quality or about tactics. He just said he wants to see players who run. The Premier League is too strong to have 1, 2 or 3 players that don't defend. What do you make of this, Don, the messages from Arteta and from Leno?
I mean, interesting that Leno's come out and said that, because that is actual factual. When you think of how many passengers Arsenal have carried against teams in the top 4, and not only teams against the top 4, and I mean that over the decade, when Mesut Ozil was playing in a place like Man City and a place like Anfield, they never really stood a chance, because the Premier League sides now and all the great sides around Europe work off the ball and they work hard. You know, that has to be a part of the game. It's not just about getting on the ball and looking pretty and thinking you can just dictate games when you've got the ball. It's what you do when you haven't got it. So for years and years and years, Arsenal have always been the side that have struggled. So Arteta obviously realises that. Interesting to see which players has to fall by the wayside and which players he wants to keep. It might be a case of him watching that game at Goodison last week, ticking off some players that he actually don't or doesn't want at the club anymore. And he might be thinking, right, he's gone, because that was such a bad performance and a low-level performance. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be watch this space, I think, if you're an Arsenal fan. I think he has to try and get the experienced players on board. Failing that, play the youngsters, because they will work hard and they'll put a shift in for him.
Interesting indeed, as it will be, watching Manchester United trying to recover from that Watford defeat at home to Newcastle on Boxing Day. The bookies like their chances, 1-3 on Newcastle. You can get 9-1 on them. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in his most recent press conference saying this season will be used to find a team and squad for next season. At the moment, we're a little bit further behind than what I was hoping for. It's taken Liverpool a few years to get to that state, and we need to just keep on building, because that's what we want to get to. Yes, we're good at counter-attacking. Now we need to be better at breaking lower blocks. Don, what did you make of this from Solskjaer?
Well, he's absolutely right. I mean, they are literally, Man United, the Robin Hood of the Premier League, aren't they? They rob the top teams of points and just give it to all the teams down at the bottom, didn't they? That's their way. I find it incredible, and it's very hard for an ex-player to try and understand the problems that are going on the pitch at Man United. Because I think in the 18 games that they've bossed possession, I think I think they've won 1. It's incredible. There are a counter-attack inside, and it's very difficult to get your mind around, because a Pep Guardiola side, they want to dominate their ball, dominate possession. They want to dominate the ball. They want to take it to teams at the top end of the pitch. And when you do dominate the ball, you'd think you're going to create chances and you're going to shift players around and move them out of positions. With Man United, it's a strange phenomenon that you're seeing them so defensive when they need to be, but yet so good because they've got electrifying pace. So that's what comes into it. But it must be a worry if you're a United fan or if you're Ollie, when you are dominating games, you don't actually win them.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.